Hey YouTube, Simon here and welcome back to Final Fantasy VIII Remastered, and we're just winding down now with this series. I've just completed the final live stream and I'm just editing in some of the footage I recorded on that live stream as we take on the final boss encounters, which is really one boss split into 4 phases. So I hope this episode is helpful to you guys. Thank you to everybody that's joined us on this particular walkthrough. I hope you've had fun. I hope you've managed to get this far yourselves. If you've stuck with us, then that's awesome. Thank you so much, and without any further ado, let's get on with today's episode. So the first part of the encounter is a battle against Ultimecia herself, and one thing you're going to notice is you don't actually select your own party. In fact, Ultimecia literally pulls in 3 random members of the party in order to fight against her. So how does that work when it comes to junctioning and setting up your team? Well, you've got 2 choices. Choice number 1 is to split your Guardian forces and junctions across 6 party members, so that no matter who gets pulled in, you're going to be able to fight the boss. That is certainly something you can do. However, option 2, which is the option I went for, is to pick a standard team of 3 people, make sure they're fully decked out with all the junctions as you normally would, and then wait to see who comes into battle. Oh, but what about the fact that they're going to be useless in battle, I hear you cry? Well, yes, they are going to be useless, those party members that haven't been junctioned, but here's the thing. If they fall in battle, if they die, they are actually replaced by another party member that's currently on the back benches. Now, for my game, I've been using VIII, Squall and Quistis recently, so that's the group that I'm going to be bringing into these final encounters. But as you can see, I was quite fortunate in that VIII and Squall were picked by default, but then instead of Quistis, we had Rinoa in this battle. So what I'm doing is allowing her to be killed, which is why I'm healing with elixirs as opposed to mega elixirs. And then when she's killed, hopefully, the next party member that comes in will be Quistis, although it could also be Zell or Selfie, so we'll just have to repeat the process if that's the case. In terms of elixirs and mega elixirs, something I should mention, there's no further saving once you've gone into battle with the final boss here. So, if ever you want to carry on playing the game, you'll need to load the previous save point you made before engaging combat, which means you can just go all out with items and stuff. There's really no need to save anything during this fight. If you want to use it, you go ahead and use it. The same is true for magic as well. Don't be scared to use your junction magic here, thinking you're going to lower your stock supply. Yeah, you will, but who cares, because you're not going to get to save anyway. So there goes Rinoa, and although it looks quite scary that she's dead, she will be resurrected shortly. Now, Meltdown is quite a nasty ability that the boss can cast here, since it reduces all of your defences to 0, your vitality and your spirit. However, you can guard against it using Ribbon, but if you don't have Ribbon, then you'll need to use a Remedy Plus in order to cure it. Okay, a standard remedy does not remove the meltdown effect of VIII, so just make sure you have some remedy pluses, or hopefully you'll have your characters equipped with Ribbon. And talking about status ailments, I do strongly recommend just having Pain junction to your status defense, and if you don't have auto haste equipped, and you really should have auto haste equipped, but if you don't, then just go ahead and make sure that you're also defending against slow and stop, as they can be quite debilitating in these final encounters here. But as you can see, Zell was thrust into the fight there, which is not really any good to us, so I just let him die. And as he's removed from battle, hopefully this time, out of Quistis and Selfie, it will be Quistis who is blessed upon us. But I've just taken this first battle quite slowly. It's probably the easiest out of all 4 phases of this last fight. So I just used the opportunity to make sure that we ended up with the party that I needed, which, as you can see, is there now, VIII, Squall and Quistis. Okay, so the general setup that I'm using with these particular party members, now that we've got the full party members in battle here, is I'm going to be casting Cerberus first of all, or you could just cast triple magic, and that's so that Squall is able to go ahead and cast Aura on all 3 party members. Obviously, limit breaks are going to play a big part in this final set of encounters, especially some of these later phases. The boss has just a ton of health. Apart from Omega Weapon, there's more health to be depleted in this boss fight than in any other enemy in the entire game, including Ultima Weapon. So you are going to want to make use of those limits, as I suggest. But as always, Irvine's limit break doing 0 damage when you fire it indicates that the boss is defeated. In this case, the first phase is over. One thing to note, however, on this last boss, it's really quite frustrating. You need to time your Guardian Force summons, such as Cerberus, Doomtrain, or whoever you're using, right after the boss has made a move. Because if they get a turn when a Guardian Force is being summoned, they will one-shot that Guardian Force, effectively removing it from the rest of the fight. So that's really annoying, just bear that in mind. Here's phase 2, and if you don't recognise who this boss is, it's Griever, the Guardian Force from Squall's Ring. Although I believe this is basically a creation of Ultimecia based on Squall's thoughts, his mind, since in his mind Griever is the most powerful Guardian Force. Oh, and one other thing that I do advise before coming into this battle is make sure that you're defending with elemental defense against as many elements as you can, because there's a whole ton of magic coming our way later, and we don't want it killing us. We want to have our spirits high, we want to have our magic defenses high, including just, you know, guarding against the elements overall. So I managed to get Doomtrain off here, which is really helpful. This will inflict VIII against Griever. And don't forget, guys, VIII, despite the name, also reduces Spirit to 0, not just Vitality. And I was saying on the live stream, I think Doomtrain has to be perhaps my favourite Guardian Force. I've certainly summoned him the most in this playthrough out of all the Guardian Forces. So at the very least, he's become the most useful to me. Okay, so the fact he always seems to heal most enemies is neither here nor there. That VIII effect is invaluable on pretty much every tough enemy in the entire game. Now, as you just saw there, Griever has a really, really annoying attack where he effectively destroys a magic from one of your party members when he casts it. So, as we saw there, Irvine had his Curagar stock just completely wiped out. It's a really annoying attack, and you could be unlucky and perhaps have one of your stat junction magic things just completely destroyed, which can effectively, you know, just undermine your abilities in this fight going forward. If you know you lose too many magics against important stats such as strength or whatever the case may be, it could just be easy to restart the entire encounter rather than trying to stumble through doing as little damage as you might then be doing. But I was quite fortunate, and we didn't really lose magics that were all that important. But with the setup in place, it's basically just a case of unleashing the limit break attacks. And as you can see, Rentakuken is going to be doing a lot of that damage. I was hoping for some Lionhearts during this battle. I thought, hey, it's the final fight. Maybe we could get some off. Be a pretty cool way to finish. Well, I'll let you watch the video to discover whether that actually happens. Although, of course, some of you watching this would have seen the live stream and will already know the answer to that. Anyhow, once we've gone ahead and got this music change here, we enter phase 3 of the encounter. And for phase 3, the lovely Ultimecia actually junctions herself into Griever for a kind of messed up amalgamation of boss fights here, just all in one, isn't it? So yeah, this phase is a little bit tricky, and the phase itself is actually split across 2 parts. So once you get the next cinematic, you haven't actually defeated the boss, you're just entering the second part of phase 3. And that's because this boss has multiple targets that we need to defeat. So we've got the lower half of the body and the upper half of the body. But I don't believe you can target them individually. It's more of a case of once you do enough damage, the bottom half is destroyed, and then the top half is all that's left. So just keep unleashing those limit breaks. Try and get a few, you know, powerful attacks off, depending on which characters you're using. As you can see, Irvine here just is amazing with his limit break, because that shot ability, with the pulse ammo especially, or with armor shot, just does a ton of damage. And if he's got a high, what's it called? High crisis status, he will be able to get a lot of attacks off in that small amount of time frame. So we're getting a few fated circles here, which is kind of cool, but they're not Lionhearts, are they? Which is what I really want to see. However, it seems to have done the job, so with that attack, we're going to be entering the next phase, or the next part of this phase, I should say. So it kind of looks like you beat this boss, but yeah, you haven't. There goes the tail, there goes the bottom half of the body. But Griever, being controlled by Ultimecia here, has no choice but to continue to fight. Now at this stage, Meltdown has worn off, and I was going to recast it then. You could see I was summoning Doom Train, but I did mistime it. I should have waited for Griever to attack first, as I mentioned earlier. I didn't, which meant that he used, or rather Ultimecia, controlling Griever, used the ability that one-shots any Guardian Force. So yeah, I could have timed that better than I did. But it doesn't seem to make much difference, since Irvine's pulse ammo is just doing a ton of damage there, enough to finish off this fight. And then that will push us, of course, into phase 4. Ooh. Now then, phase 4 is a super interesting phase. It really is. Ultimecia, first of all, looks absolutely bizarre. Her face has gone, and we just have this light shining through. Something to do with all the time compression. I'm guessing we're getting to see Ultimecia perhaps in some kind of true form here. Is this what happens to sorceresses once they start delving into this stuff of time compression and everything else? Anyway, there's lots of rumours going around, fan theories, that maybe Ultimecia is a future version of Rinoa. I'm not going to give any weight to those theories, I just mention them because they are out there. But in terms of the fight itself, it's just going to be a continuation of what's come before. That means we're going to be unleashing limit breaks. Just make sure you stay on top of keeping aura enabled on your characters. One thing to note is that during this fight, Ultimecia is going to use an ability, as you just saw there, called Hell's Judgment, which removes all of your health points bar 1 for each party member. Now, this is a perfect opportunity to unleash your limit breaks because you will be at the highest crisis level. And that means that you'll have a really good chance of doing the best form of each of those limit breaks, such as the Lionheart for Squall, having a long cast time, a long timer bar thingy for Irvine here, so you can get a lot of attacks off. It's just a good opportunity, but just bear in mind that you are in danger of being killed. So I recommend using 2 characters to get some limit breaks off during this time, and then have your third party member throw a Mega Elixir on, which will then occur after the limit break, since limit breaks will take priority. Anyhow, I still only got a rough divide there. Still no Lionheart, I'm hunting it down. But we'll heal up and just continue on with the fight. Now, one thing to note is that Ultimecia loves to throw all manner of high powerful magics at you. You name high powerful magics, she will use them. Ultima, Meteor, pretty much everything else, along with the fact that she's still going to be just completely removing many of your magic stocks. As we just saw then, sleep got removed, which isn't too bad at all. I can live with that. It could have been something much worse. Indeed, unfortunately, it might be for you guys. And there's that Hell's Judgment again. So once more, just make the most of it and unleash a couple of high powerful attacks using your defensive party member, in my case Quistis, to throw a Mega Elixir on to heal up before the next attack from Ultimecia. Now, this phase also takes place in multiple mini phases, I guess, because this boss also has different targets. Now, as far as I'm aware, you're only able to attack one target at any given time. A little bit later on, I think the second target does become available, but you'll know when that happens because Ultimecia will start talking. Which means, for example, if like me, you're using Irvine's Limit Break and it starts to say 0 damage, that doesn't mean she's dead, as it would normally indicate when you're fighting an enemy and when that occurs. All it means is you finished that mini phase, and so you need to wait for her to say something in order for the next phase to begin. So just bear that in mind. Obviously, if it does say 0 on Irvine's damage, just stop attacking, stop firing the trigger, or you're just going to waste ammo, but it's not the end of the encounter, so don't put the controller down just yet. For Quistis, even though she's my defensive character, she's healing, casting Mighty Guard, etc. I'm also using her to unleash Shockwave Pulsars, which are really, really nice damage boosts to this encounter. You know, you get up to 18,000 points of damage each time you cast this, which is just going to make the battle go a little bit faster. And the fact the boss has started just speaking there, I think indicates that we've switched over into the next mini phase. Once we've gone ahead and defeated the bottom half of the boss, she can't do the most damaging attack, which is draw casting Apocalypse. Apocalypse is a really, really, really powerful magic. Well, I say that, it's overrated, it's probably not as powerful as people make out. But here's the thing, you can actually draw and stock Apocalypse from this boss. But as I mentioned earlier, there's no way to save afterwards, so there's no way outside of cheating if you use some kind of hacking program to actually stock Apocalypse permanently onto a save file. You can draw and stock it for fun on this fight in order to cast it again on this fight, but that's about it. You can't keep it forever, unfortunately. So there we go, we're getting 0 damage, which means that either the boss has been defeated or we've just moved into the next mini phase. Just keep unleashing your limit breaks during this encounter, and remember towards the start of this battle I told you that you want high magic defences, which is a high spirit stat, and guarding against elements. Well, this is really the encounter that's going to come into its own, because if you don't have high magic defences, then you're going to struggle a lot, I would think, on this particular fight, just because there's so much damage coming from those various elements and high level magic spells, including the non-elemental magic spells such as Ultima and Flare and stuff, that you just want to make sure that that isn't going to be an issue. So there we have it, a little bit more dialogue. I'm not sure exactly how many mini phases there are here, but there seem to be quite a few. So let's go ahead, and while we're going to be at low health here, unleash another Renzakuken. And will we get a Lionheart this time? Let's hope, eh? Let's hope. Well, we got all the triggers perfect, and it's a fated circle. I just thought, you know, having a Lionheart would be a pretty cool finisher on this fight, seeing as how it is the final boss. But we're still doing lots of damage here, and look, once again we've pushed her into the next mini phase. I don't know why I'm calling them mini phases. It's really just one big phase, this. It just kind of helps to explain the situation, I think. Yeah, there we go, there's our Mega Elixir healing us back to full. And here comes Quistis with the Shockwave Pulsar. Shockwave Pulsar, incidentally, is one of just 4 attacks in this game that the player can use that actually bypass the soft damage cap. The soft damage cap, of course, is 9,999. There is a hard damage cap, which no ability can go past, and that is 60,000. Technically, the ability that's known as Kamikaze, the command ability, does, I think it's 49,999 points of damage once a party member that uses it is at max health. But it could crit for technically almost double that, but it can only get to 60,000 because of that damage cap. There's no way to go past it. Anyway, Shockwave Pulse is very good. So here we go, another damaging attack. This time in the way of Ultima, but again with those high magic defences, even Ultima is no match against our party. Right, another Renzakuken. So my crisis level isn't particularly high this time, but I did get every perfect attack there. And there we have it, the Lionheart. Wonderful stuff. What a nice ability to actually finish this final boss off with, eh? Not required, of course, by any stretch of the imagination. But why not? Why not? Well, there we have it then, guys. The final phase of the boss fight is over, and that is a freaking amazing death scene. I love it. Anyway, guys, if this is your first time defeating this boss on the remastered version of Final Fantasy VIII, then make sure you stick through the cutscenes. Not only are they pretty awesome, but you'll also get the trophy pop at the end of those as well. Well, folks, there we have it. That brings us to the end of our Final Fantasy VIII Remastered walkthrough. So thanks so much to everybody that stopped by. I hope you guys enjoyed watching. And please do come back. We're going to be playing Final Fantasy VII next, I believe. So if you can make the live streams, it'll be great to have you guys. And I look forward to seeing you then. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.